Welcome to a too tall Toby's practice model built in IronCAD. This is a model dated 7/2/2024. It's a pulley mount. Not too awful difficult. We have an overall size, width, and height from the center point location here, and we know that we have some two pulling areas here that have an overall width of 69 and our inside of 42 as well. We have some different wall thicknesses here from the outside to inside, and we have a little height extrusion that's 22 millimeters wide, 16 high on the ends. That will put a counter sunk hole in here as well. So we'll go ahead and show you how to design this IronCAD, and we're going to use this. IronCAD's main feature is basically to build this with drag and drop. So we'll start with an extrude shape that will drop out, and we'll set that overall size of 180 that it defined, the width of 50, and the height we're going to start off with 10. So next we're going to go ahead and put these two end pieces on here. So we can basically just drag and drop another feature right onto that midpoint of that edge, and we can right click and size this to the outside edge, so that'll be right on the center, and we'll move this back face here. So we're basically just building this extrusion from that edge there. We could have pulled the face up and then cut it. There's another way to do it, but this is just an alternative way of doing it. And we know that that width is 22, and the height of this is going to be a total of 16, so the bottom was 10, so we'll just add 6 to that to give us our total of 16 for that. And we'll just do a mirror feature, and we can use any reference on here. In our case, we're going to use the midpoint of that bottom edge, select that feature, and apply that to the other side. Next, I'm going to build these, these holders for the pulley. And what we're going to do is right-click and drag again, set that width to be 10, and I'm going to right-click and snap it to the center. And we know the top or the center line of this the shape here is going to be right at the bottom of the model at 55. So we'll just type that in there as 55, so we're referencing the bottom side. And then we can simply just drag and drop a cylinder on here. And again, it goes on the base of the, if you drop on an edge, it's based on what face is more predominant. So for example, predominant. If I rotate over a little bit and drop on that same edge on that center point, and now it'll extrude this way. So that's just one thing to note inside of here. But what we're building is essentially that same kind of like almost a slot feature here that you would do in a sketch, where you would draw a sketch and an arc to that. We just built it with solid shapes. Either way can be done. So anyways, we just do it this way fast, and we can use the TriBall to make a copy. And we know that it needs to be 69 out here, so from outside to outside. And what we're going to do is going to create a link. We're going to make a copy for the two other shapes. And again, it's going to be 69 divided by 2, but our model was built on the center of this, and our TriBall sitting in the center. So we need to subtract 5 millimeters on top of that as well to get that exact value from outside of the model. And we're going to repeat it in the opposite direction. So we're going to move it out that distance, 29.5, and 29.5 in the opposite direction, which will give us the total. If we select the face level and hold our shift key down to the other side, you'll see our total is 69 there. So that's how we can quickly build that model, and then we can select to these features and get rid of those models geometry that we don't want. Next, while we're here, we'll just go ahead and move this face down. We're going to select that face and just pull it down to create another feature there, and subtract 2 millimeters because it's going to be 8 here instead of 10. So we'll have that prepared for us. And next, we'll go ahead and put these cylinders on here. So I'm going to build this one, and this will mirror to the other side. So we have a diameter for that is called out of 33, and the thickness of this, what we know is it's got a distance of 42 from this face to the other face. So what we'll do is just snap this to here, to the center, and we can just take that value and subtract half of that. So from the center, subtract the half of 42, which is going to be 21. Oops, put a minus there first, minus 21 to get our value. So that's our value for that piece there, and we'll just take that, and we can use the TriBall or the mirror feature command just like we did before. I'll just show you both here, so I'm just going to move this down into the middle of this edge and just simply right click on that handle that's opposite its orientation and mirror it and link it to the opposite side. So that's how you can do that. Last, we'll go ahead and put the hole here, and we'll just drag and drop it onto the center point here, and we'll pull it all the way through, and we can snap it or just pull it all the way through. It doesn't really matter. But in our case, we have a diameter for this is 16 millimeters for that. So that builds that shape there for us. Next, we can go ahead and do the blends on this, or we can do the features, then reorder some things here. So let's just go ahead and do the blends because it's going to use this entire edge. So we'll go ahead and select these edges here, and all of these edges are being called out at 4 millimeters inside of here. So we don't want that full face. We just want that edge there. And you can tell by our cursor it's giving you edge or a face. As you can see it highlight different there from a face to an edge, and then you can just right click and say blend. In our case, we want to set those to 4. Inside of there, you can see the preview and hit enter again to apply that. So that will give us all those 4mm blends for us. Next, let's go ahead and do our rib feature, which is found in our shapes. This is just the handle-based rib feature is here, but you can do another type of rib as well if you like. Similar to other systems where you draw a profile and extend it, that's one way to do it as well. But we're just going to use a TriBall. We're going to rotate this around 180 degrees. We'll just go ahead and snap it to this back face here. And we know this value was defined by the angle, and so we don't know, we can't pull the handle up to this edge here, so what we'll do is we'll just snap this here to this edge, and we'll go ahead and hit edit cross section by hitting right click. And what we can do is we can select this curve and say disconnect down here at the bottom and just pull, well, that's the wrong line here, we'll just pull this one up to that top point. That gives us our location, and then we can just draw a line by hitting the S key. We can just draw a line to close that volume, make it a closed volume there inside of it. And last, we'll go ahead and put our dimension here, and this needs to be 35 in this case. This is when we do it with constraints. You could also do it by selecting on the curve and getting some curve dimensions. Notice it gives you the same value here. So you could have done it either way with the edits here. I'm just showing you with the constraint value, and you can just lock a point if you want, and then just change this to 35. So notice when you do it with constraints, the lines are free to move. So if you wanted to fix the bottom one there as well, you can fix that. Then when you change this to 35, it should move that top line. So you can see that moves over. It changed our angle here. We can make it horizontal if we want, but it doesn't really matter. It's just cutting into this geometry. This is the location that we want. It's just this 35 reference. So we can fix that up or just leave it. It doesn't really matter in this case. So we'll go ahead and hit finish. That gives us our shape. And again, if we want to set the width on this, so we've set it currently at 7.143, and I believe it actually has an 8 value. We can just hit that value, and this is set to size symmetrically for us. So we've got that shape there. Again, it's from that edge. If you can see here, it's from this edge up 35 degrees. And if you want to confirm that again, you can always select on the edges, the 2 edges that you have there, and it'll tell you your angle down here at the bottom. Next, we want to get that to the other side. Again, we can use the mirror command. We can use the TriBall. Either one works. So again, another way to access that mirror feature is to select the feature first, select mirror, select your center location, and hit OK to apply that. So that's another way to access that. Okay, looks like I don't have that in the center here, so you can see that I'm on the center here on this one. Let's just double check here. I may have dropped that off center, so let's go ahead and just place that, make sure that we are on the middle of this model here. There we go. That one is centered there, and we can do the same for this one as well. Our mirrored feature here. There we go, select that. And we can make sure that is on the same center line as well. Okay. All right, next we want to add some blends here on the outside on this model. So we want to see these corner here, these 4 corners outside of here. Let me find out what that is. 8. It's got a radius of 8, so we'll go ahead and select those. Do blend, set that to 8, and then I can just walk around here and select those edges again. Same cursor feedback, face or an edge. Inside there we're getting an edge on this model, and we can select that one to apply that. And we can right click and hit OK to apply that, or hit enter to apply either one. Okay, so now we've got those applied. Next we need to do our counter hole. So what I'm going to do is just drop this onto the center point of this top face here. And again, I'll just go back to my starter, IC Mech Tools. I'll drop a hole right onto this. And what we're going to do is create that counter bore. And it's got a value of 7mm through hole, 7mm through hole. And it's got a counter bore of 14 and a depth of 4. So let's type those values in and hit the green button to see that preview update, or sorry, the blue button is preview and the green is to apply that. And it automatically turned the TriBall on for us because we need to position this. So it knows that it has to be inset 10 degrees because the distance from center to center is 160 and our overall length is 180. So we'll just move this in 10mm. And now we can do that same operation where we right click and drag this and create a link copy of that. And in this case, it needs to be 15 degrees. It's 15 to 15 and be 30 total. And we'll repeat it in the opposite direction. And then we can just turn our TriBall off and hit delete. Okay, so this is our linked shapes inside of here, so it doesn't remove anything from our model when we delete the original shape, not like a true parent-child relationship. Anyways, last we can do is we can go ahead and select these two features here and do that mirror feature again. Again, we can pick any one of these midpoints along here, the bottom edge. Any one of them will apply that for us. We don't have to actually have any planes to do it. We just have to find the midpoint of an edge. That will give us our reference and hit OK to apply that. So that will give us our overall model here. Make sure I'm not missing anything else. Nope, that's everything. No extra holes. And again, that's those through holes there. And we have our holes going through for this pulley. So there we go. That's our model. If we now hop over to our properties, we can set in here the density for this one is 7,800. So we can just type that 7,800 inside of there. That'll give us a mass of 1316 grams for this model. So there you go. That's how you can build this in IronCAD. And again, I'm doing a mixture of traditional features like your mirror features, the TriBall to do a mirror. In this case, we mirrored these two features and creating from the reference, the center point, moving them out and creating them in both directions. Same thing I did for the holes. So just kind of a couple things that we may or may not have showed in some of the previous ones, but hopefully you find this one useful. Again, just kind of a mixture of features, not too awful difficult to build this one in IronCAD. Hopefully you enjoy.